というのだ。理解したからどうするというのだ。貴様の波紋に何ができるというのだ。ラビットパープル&ハモンくどい。
I'll be honest, this one's been on my mind for a little bit of time, and to be fair, it's quite surprising that I didn't notice this any sooner. In retrospect, it seems kinda reasonable for Jotaro to learn Hamon. I mean, the only thing I had against this idea initially was the fact during part 3, Araki definitely wanted to shift the focus away from Hamon into stands, but they weren't really out the door completely. During Stardust Crusaders, Joseph actually does use Hamon somewhat frequently, as I showed you in that earlier clip in the beginning of the video, and he even uses it in tangent with Hermit Purple. Okay, with that on the table, we know for a fact that Hamon users can exist within part 3. It is possible, that is a fact. But the real question is, why didn't Jotaro either use Hamon or was taught Hamon? Before I explain why this can't work, and trust me, there are many flaws with Hamon being taught to Jotaro. It just breaks the story. I'll get into that much later. Before that, I really want to imagine how cool it would be to see this present. Hell, not even just for Jotaro. I mean, what about the rest of the Stardust Crusaders? You know, Polnareff, Kakyoin, even Iggy, who knows? I mean, I don't know if Hamon is limited to animals. I don't think that's directly ever said within the series. Either way, I think one contradiction that some people may come up with is that, well, Joseph really isn't a quote-unquote master of Hamon. Throughout part 2, he was kind of a slacker per se. Caesar was someone who took that a lot more seriously. And look, I totally understand. Joseph probably wouldn't make the best teacher, but I don't think it's out of the ordinary for us to expect that he can't pass down some basic Hamon breathing techniques, that sort of thing. Nothing too crazy, just simple techniques. I mean, it would be really cool to see a sort of before and after of how much they learned and grew throughout their journey. There could be certain milestones where they learn critical things about Hamon. Heck, we could have an awesome training montage like they did in part 2. I mean, the potential is there. Another interesting thought. Okay, so Joseph can use Hermit Purple with Hamon. But could you imagine the rest of the group with that? I mean, Star Platinum paired with that, Hierophant Green, freaking Silver Chariot, bro. I love Silver Chariot. Like, it would be just really cool to see these ideas combined into one. This is an extreme side note, but I think a really cool combination would be Stone Free and Hamon. And yeah, don't ask why, but I just have Stone Ocean on my mind. Nevertheless, this would be really cool because, well, Jolene kind of uses Stone Free to kind of patch up her wounds, kind of like stitching, and could you imagine that combined with the healing properties of Hamon? Ultimate potential, and even then it's the string-like material, sort of similar to Hermit Purple, how it can grapple things. I mean, Hermit Purple is basically just a rope. Nevertheless, with that out of the way, let's figure out why this can't work. Now, one obvious thing is that Araki's intentions were to eventually fully replace Hamon with stands. So having Jotaro as a Hamon user would naturally contradict this idea, whether or not Araki at the time had originally planned Jotaro to return in part 4. Furthermore, I wouldn't really see too much of a practical use aside from occasionally healing here and there. I mean, there's a reason why Joseph rarely used Hamon in the first place. Overall, Star Platinum just gets the job done way more efficiently. Okay, now on to pretty much the main reason why this can't happen whatsoever. This is pretty much the reason why I was initially hesitant to make this video, because really the answer is simple. Hamon would be too broken against Dio. Don't believe me? Just think about it. The moment Star Platinum touches Dio, or touches the world, the fight is practically over. There's no debate. And something like this actually did happen. Joseph wrapped himself in Hamon with Hermit Purple all over his body to prevent Dio from using physical attacks against him. But then that was pretty much negated because then Dio just started throwing and chucking knives and all this stuff at Joseph. But still, I mean, the thing about Hermit Purple, that was not an offensive stand. Star Platinum, though, infusing his body with Hamon is a completely different story that changes the entire game. The entire fight would just be Dio on on the defensive running away from Jotaro. It would just be really anticlimactic. Think about this as well. If we went with my initial idea of having the whole group learn Hamon, god, it would be completely one-sided. Remember Polnareff stabbing Dio in the head with Silver Chariot? No, it would just be completely off the walls. Heck, I think even Kakyoin may have not even have died. Who knows, maybe even the Emerald Splash infused with Hamon would have actually been somewhat effective against Dio. Overall, yeah, it kinda sucks that Hamon, ironically speaking, would have just been way too broken against Dio. And even like I said, even if it was just Jotaro, one punch, even a few punches in there, the fight would have been over pretty quickly. I mean, Jotaro probably would have had the upper hand in most situations. Heck, I wonder if he even needed Star Platinum the World in order to beat Dio if he did have Hamon. I mean, that's a little bit crazy, but think about it. In the beginning of the fight, he got a few punches in, pretty easy, you know? I mean, all Jotaro had to do is be like, you know, well, Dio's like, let's go test out our stands and all that stuff. And then, you know, they just have their little fist off, I guess. In that moment, yeah, Dio would have just been entirely fucked up. Though I guess perhaps Dio at that point would have got the memo that, you know, oh no, this guy definitely has Hamon, because he would have realized that Jotaro would be doing breathing techniques, so maybe at that point he would back off. But either way, he would be on the defensive. Either way, I actually think there's something to be learned from this lesson, I suppose, if you want to call it a lesson. I think this is it shows that Jojo villains, and or specifically the villains' abilities, really evolved over time. No more is it just ultimate cars going completely apeshit, or simple part 1 Dio with the zombie minions. After part 3, and even a bit of part 3 of course, enemy powers, the enemy stands just got way more complicated. I mean, look at part 4, right? Killer Queen bites the dust. Hamon just won't cut it at that point. You know, you need a much more complicated solution to a complicated problem. And the issues that occur in the later parts aren't really as simple as, okay, there's a vampire and his only weakness is Hamon, or there's a pillarman and his only weakness is basically Hamon as well. These guys evolved in meaningful ways where their weaknesses are not obvious whatsoever. No more is Jojo a series about just vampires. Dio though, well, General Tarkin, take it away.
The Jedi are extinct. Their fire has gone out of the universe. You, my friend, are all that's left of their religion.
Okay, I think I'm going to just end it there before I start rambling myself to death. If you made it to the end of the video, thank you. I actually really appreciate that. Like, I don't know how, if you made it to the end, I don't know how you even listened in this far. It just seems insane. I feel like most of the time I was just going off track and all that stuff. But nevertheless, if you have any cool things to say in the comments, anything I may have gone wrong, or anything you want to add onto the conversation, feel free to talk down below. Always love to see people's input. Anyway, thank you so much for everything, and have an awesome day.